Good morning, everybody. Well, it was a happy Friday until I woke up and found out what was going to be happening over the course of the next little while over in the town of Babylon where I live. And, of course, there's no one reporting on this whatsoever. Apparently, News 12 did about a minute-long segment on it before they had to get back to the weather. We had to get back to the weather because it turns out if News 12's not covering the weather, they're not even on, everybody. Did you know it's cold on Long Island in the winter? We don't need a third weather report. But before we get started, make sure you guys smash that like button, share this video into all your groups, tag your friends to like the page, particularly tag your friends that live in the town of Babylon so that they can find out what's going on today at 3 o'clock at Babylon Town Hall. Because quite frankly, I'm nauseated. I'm nauseated by what's happening here. It's getting no press coverage. Newsday didn't even touch it. Of course, Newsday didn't. When I tell you what's happening, what's going to be happening in the town of Babylon, and then I show you what Newsday's covering. Look, guys, I know if you're watching from Newsday, I know the top story of the day is what did George Santos eat for breakfast? What color tie is he wearing? Do his socks match his belt? I know that's the top story. That's all you guys know how to talk about. That and whatever apparently I'm doing for the day. But there are other things. So, before I jump into what happened, I'm going to let people start to jump onto the stream here. So I'm going to show you guys what Newsday thought was important today on Long Island. Today on Long Island, what Newsday thought was important. So important that they decided to put it on the front cover and not what's going to be happening here in the town of Babylon. This is what Newsday felt was so important. The war in Ukraine. No one cares about Ukraine. Even the people who virtue signal that they care about Ukraine don't care about Ukraine. Because if they cared about Ukraine, they'd be getting on a plane and they'd be going over there and fighting. No. They just want to send your money over to Ukraine. That's what Newsday thought was so important today. As opposed to the fact there is going to be an emergency Babylon Town Board meeting today at 3 o'clock at the Babylon Town Hall to discuss whether or not we should be housing sex offenders in local hotels. Local hotels that are near schools, near markets, near major intersections. Because nothing's more exciting. Look, if you live in the town of Babylon and you get off the Southern State Parkway on 109, as I do, you know damn well that you can't pull up to that light without being accosted by panhandlers. So let's keep putting them in hotels. Let's put them in hotels right in major intersections. This was sent to me by a concerned citizen. I do want to thank you guys. And this is the reason why I do shows like this one. People think it's about being famous or having all the attention. No. It's to inform everyone of the shit that goes on in your local government because your local newspaper thinks that somebody cares about Ukraine. Newsday, no one cares about Ukraine. Get over it. This was, let me pull this up real quick on here. This was sent to me by a concerned citizen. Apparently this comes from the Copeg. I have to read it off my phone because of the way it was cropped. This came to me from a local citizen from the Copeg Community Board. Apparently, last night it came to the board's attention from another civic we work with that there is a rumor that the motel on Montauk Highway, 1159 Montauk Highway by Hawkins, where the apartments are being built, were going to be utilized as a homeless shelter. We thought it was a rumor. It's not. In fact, it's more concerning. Please read this from Councilman Dwayne Gregory, who actually does a pretty good job. Let me make this a little bit bigger for you guys. Let me make that a little bit bigger for you guys. What is more disturbing and infuriating is the high, questionably legal county policy that shuffles sex offenders around to avoid them from registering with the authorities and police, and the use of motels to do just that. Keep them from registering as convicted sex offenders. What is wrong with our county? Where else in our county is this happening? Is our county just holding areas to shuffle convicted sex offenders around to benefit them and not their victims, or intentional deception of the residents? How is this possible? It goes on and on and on. So, the town of Babylon will be housing registered sex offenders in our local motels. I do find it incredibly ironic. that this is going to be housed in Copeg. Because if we know one thing about Democrats, it's that we need to uplift the communities of color that have been impacted by years of slavery and redlining and all that bullshit that they've been spewing to us for decades and decades. So now what are you going to do to benefit the local community? You're going to put registered sex offenders who are homeless, probably drug addicted, more than likely mentally ill, directly in a spot in our community. And no one's going to do anything about it. No one's going to do anything about it because, we used to have a place where we housed registered sex offenders. We used to have a place that if you committed a sex crime against somebody, we would take you all and we'd put you in that place. And then Democrats took over and we stopped using those places. What the hell were they called? Jails. They were called jails. If you committed a sex crime, you didn't get 5 to 10 years for rape and then out in 3 on parole. You didn't get that. We locked you up and threw away the key. And then after you spent your time in that place called a jail where we put bad people, after you got out of that, we moved your body from that place to the local cemetery. Because those who commit sex crimes should not be given quarter in any place, anywhere on planet Earth. And I want to be clear about something. I highly doubt that the sex offenders that are going to be housed there are going to be low-level sex offenders, like somebody who got caught peeing in public and got an indecent exposure charge. No. I'm sure there'll be crimes against children. I'm sure there'll be rape. I'm sure there'll be all sorts of awful things. Let's be clear. Homeless, sex offender, probably mentally ill, probably drug addicted. Yeah, let's bring them all into one collective location out in the public amongst the rest of us. Now, it's important to understand something here. It's very important to understand that while this is a Democrat policy, and you would think, why would Democrats house these sorts of people in a Democratic stronghold like the town of Babylon, where a Republican cannot be elected? Ronald Reagan couldn't get elected. Abraham Lincoln couldn't get elected in the town of Babylon. Why are they putting them there? Because there's only one other Democratic area to put them. The Hamptons. You guys ever drive out to the Hamptons? There's like 40 miles worth of trees on Sunrise Highway. Why don't we take these people and keep them far away from the public? Like really far. Like not near a school. This hotel they're talking about using on Montauk Highway, apparently there's a daycare center around the corner. Lambs to the slaughter, everyone. But this is what Democrats do. This is what Democrats do. Today at 3 p.m. at Babylon Town Hall, there'll be an emergency town board meeting according to Councilman Dwayne Gregory. Let me pull this up on the screen for you real quick. The town of Babylon is having a special town board meeting February 24th at 3 p.m. to discuss the county policy to turn local area motels into emergency housing shelters. We all understand that we have to take the time, we have to take care of the less fortunate, but this proposal would have the town of Babylon take on 50% of the county single homeless white male population. So there are 9 towns on Long Island, and the town of Babylon is taking on half of them. Furthermore, the danger that this proposal could cause is unacceptable because the county policy that shuffles convicted homeless sex offenders around the county to avoid being placed on the registry If you are a sex offender, you are required to go to your local precinct and register with the registry after 7 days. But what this shuffling policy does is to move sex offenders prior to having them register with the registry. Part of the proposed county plan would be to turn the South Bay Motel in Copeg into emergency shelters for homeless males. If this goes through, it would house approximately 70 to 75 homeless men. Because of the way the county handles its homeless male sex offender population, the neighboring residential communities will never know if or how many sex offenders will be housed at a given time. The board plans to do its part to fight this proposal. I want to thank Dwayne Gregory. He seems to be the only rational Democrat within, 100 miles. Within 100 miles. Let's see what happens here. It's good to know that Steve Ballone, on his way out the door, considering he's termed out, on his way out the door, is now going to dump its male, homeless, sex offender, drug-addicted, mentally ill population right in our backyard. We used to have laws in this state that made being homeless illegal. You couldn't live on the street. Those days are long gone. Walk through Babylon Village now on a Friday night. You're getting accosted by homeless people. It's unbelievable. They don't care. They don't care. How about this? You remember when panhandling was against the law? Why don't we make it against the law again? That way, if you get caught asking for money on the street, we can get you housing. We can get you housing in a nice little thing. It's called a cell. You can go into that cell, you can get fed, and you can get medical assistance on the taxpayer dime, and you're way the hell away from all the civilized people who don't commit sex crimes. Why don't we do that? No, we can't have tough on crime policies. There are Democrats among us. We can't have these sorts of things. So what do? They stick them in low-income areas. They stick them in low-income areas because the Democrats don't care about poor people. I've been saying this for years on this show, and I'll say it until I'm blue in the face. Look at the difference between the Democrats' rhetoric and their actions. Their rhetoric says they are here to help the poor. Their actions are that they just hate the rich. How does this help the poor people of Copeg? I'm from Lindenhurst. I grew up next to Copeg. These are not rich areas. I'm a member of the community. Where these hotels are supposed to go is about 5 miles from, not even 5 miles, maybe 3 miles from my house. Right on a major thoroughfare. You don't think people are going to be sitting there coming out panhandling for money on Montauk Highway, guys? Do you honestly not think that? 3 p.m. today at the Babylon Town Hall. Or if you want, just call the county offices. Ask Mr. Ballone why on his way out the door is he doing this crap. Sex offenders belong in jail. They belong in jail, but Newsday's not going to cover this. News 12's going to give it a minute on its show. A minute. And then back to weather. Nope. Newsday, what are they talking about? They're talking about Ukraine. They're talking about the human cost that's still high in Ukraine. Now, it's so funny because if you look at the very top of this, your eye on Long Island, and then right below it is the war in Ukraine. What in the hell does the war in Ukraine have to do with Long Island? Except for the fact that we're apparently funding it with all of our tax dollars that we'll never get back in the SALT Tax Reduction Act because we have congressmen who are dumbasses, just straight incompetent people. Our congressmen could have gotten that SALT tax repealed, but they didn't. Whether it's because they walk around behind Kevin McCarthy and carry his pocket like a prison bitch, or because they weren't smart enough to introduce the legislation in the first place. That's what Newsday's covering. You're damn right, Ken. Castrate. Yep, the service road of the LIE in 231. I drive past it every day. panhandling all day. You can tell the decline of a society by the amount of people they have out panhandling. Those people should be arrested. It is illegal to live on the street, or it was for a very long time. It was for a very long time in this country. But no. That's not what our local journalists care about. That's not what our local journalists care about. They care about whether or not George Santos' belt matches his shoes. I got plenty of reasons to be pissed off at him. Plenty of reasons to go far beyond things that you guys will ever even understand. But their obsession with what this guy had for lunch blows my mind. We have real problems here. No wonder you guys are hemorrhaging reporters. You're bleeding reporters like a sieve. You just lost your last good one. But no, our local paper wants to criticize people for doing what seems to be obvious. And yeah, I've got a story later about George entering the culture war. And you know what? Aside from all the other crap about him, I'm actually kind of happy he did this. Because there are certain bills that make statements in this country. But that's all they seem to care about. All they seem to care about is what this guy's doing every day. Like there's nothing else going on. Other than the fact that, I'm sure we could look into other Congress people on Long Island and find their misgivings, but we wouldn't do that. Like how one of them doesn't live in their district and the other one gets behind the wheel of a car when they shouldn't. Things like that. How about their just total ineptitude? Our other three Long Island congressmen have done nothing since they've been in D.C. except invite Joe Biden out to Suffolk County. Spoiler alert, we don't want Joe Biden in Suffolk County. You know how we know that? Because we elected people like you who are too stupid to not know that the president is mic'd up at the State of the Union address. Keep saying my name in the press. Keep doing it. Vote wrong one time, Nick. Vote wrong one time. Cowards. That's all these people care about. Have our Congress people spoken out about the housing of homeless sex offenders in their district? No. They've got more important things to talk about, like deflect all of their misgivings onto George Santos. And believe me, I'm fucking pissed at George Santos too. I made that very clear to anyone who would listen. However, I am so sick and tired of this holier-than-thou attitude that come from Republicans like you've never done anything wrong in your life, like vote to defund the Amityville police. This holier-than-thou attitude. Like you're somehow above the rest of us. Did the guy lie about his life? Yeah, he lied about his life. All right. Let's move on. It's been months. How much more crap are you going to dig up about him? But while the press is focused on him, the shiny object over here, they're not looking over here at the fact that you're doing absolutely nothing. Everyone's got their opinion. And that's fine. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? As I said, guys, make sure you guys, give the county officers a call. Let them know that you don't want this crap in your particular neighborhood. You don't want it in your neighborhood. I know I don't want it in mine. And people will say that this is just typical Long Island NIMBYism, not in my backyard. Yeah, it is. It's exactly what it is. We could put these homeless people out in the Pine Barrens. I tell you what, instead of housing them in hotels, why don't we just build a little house all the way out east, stick them there, that way we don't have to deal with them until they either get off their drugs or get back on their lithium. Stop bothering the rest of us. No, can't do that. Can't do that. Democrats are going to put them in the black and brown communities that they pretend to care so much about. But they don't care. They don't care. They just use their votes. Democrats know they're going to stick it in a safe Democratic area. Nothing's going to happen. No one's going to notice. They're going to shuffle them around from hotel to hotel. And this is according to Democrat Dwayne Gregory. That's how they keep these people off the sex offender registry, by continuously moving them from hotel to hotel. I'm not saying it. That's a black Democrat from Babylon. Ask Steve Ballone why on his way out the door he thinks this is appropriate when we should be housing the homeless, the mentally ill, the drug addicted into certain other kinds of facilities. I'm not saying lock up mentally ill people. What I'm saying is get them the help they need in psychiatric centers so that they can rejoin society as a productive member of the world. Instead of putting them in pay-by-the-hour motels that are filled with drugs to begin with. Half of these hotels should be closed down. If anyone lives near the Comac Motor Inn, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. But this is what they do. This is the kind of stuff they do. And of course, they all love to do it on the heels of the fact that people like Kathy Hochul seem to think that she's intelligent, seem to think that she's got some good ideas, some good things going on, as she goes out and defends her policy on housing in the suburbs and this new MTA tax. She thinks that this is an appropriate thing to be doing. But before we get to that, make sure you guys smash that Rumble button. Share the URL right at the top of the page. Make sure you guys hit subscribe so you never miss out on any stuff going on here on Long Island. If you're on Facebook, hit that like button. Share this video into all of your groups, particularly your Town of Babylon groups, so that everyone that lives in your community can know that homeless sex offenders are going to be housed in places in their own communities. Because apparently no one was going to inform them if it wasn't for shows like this one. Nobody was going to inform them. It's the world we live in, guys. It's the world we live in. But a quick word from our sponsor before we get to that about Kathy Hochul and her ridiculous plans to make us suffer because she's from Western New York and doesn't understand how things operate here on Long Island. A quick word from our friends over at Home Title Lock. Guys, the deed to your home is the only document that proves that you own it. The problem is the deed to all of our homes are now online. A criminal can find the deed to your home if they live in Suffolk County because, God forbid, we shell out $2,000 for a VPN. We don't care about cybersecurity. We're too busy housing homeless sex offenders next to daycare centers in Copeg. But a criminal can find and forge the signature to your deed and refile as the new homeowner. Then they can take out loans against your home's equity and leave you in debt, and you won't even know about it until collection notices start showing up at your door. Homeowners insurance doesn't cover you, and neither do common identity theft programs. Guys, Home Title Lock is your peace of mind that the deed to your home is protected. Guys, this is totally free, particularly if you live in Suffolk County, where we don't believe in cybersecurity. All we believe in is virtue signaling and protecting the powerful. Guys, go to HometitleLock.com/LFA. That's HometitleLock.com/LFA. Use promo code LFA and then enter your address for your no-obligation home title scan to see if you're already a victim. That's a $100 value. It's totally free. There's no reason not to do it. It's free. Do it. Make sure the deed to your home hasn't been compromised because our leaders are useless. Be sure to use promo code LFA for your free home title scan at HometitleLock.com/LFA. That's HometitleLock.com/LFA. Guys, it's totally free. There's no reason not to do it. No reason not to make sure that your biggest asset, your home, is protected and not compromised by the useless people that we put in charge. But Governor Hochul on Thursday defended some of her key budget proposals, including an increase of housing construction on Long Island and a raise of the MTA commuter tax. Construction of housing on Long Island? That sounds great. More houses. Maybe our kids, maybe people my age can afford to live here now. No. These will be multifamily housing units. In a Newsday TV interview, what the hell is Newsday TV? Newsday TV? Newsday has a TV channel? Guys, not enough people read your paper. Nobody's going to watch your TV channel. In a Newsday TV interview with Joy Brown in Melville, Hochul portrayed herself as a moderate Democrat, declaring she's a progressive, not a socialist. First off, a moderate Democrat can't be a progressive. See, there's 3 steps to being a Democrat. You're a moderate, you're a progressive, you're a socialist. So you can't be a moderate progressive Democrat. But semantics. I don't expect Kathy Hochul to know things. She backed her way into this job. She backed her way into this job after Governor Gravass got caught. She also expressed no regret about having nominated Hector LaSalle, an appellate court judge and former Suffolk County prosecutor from East Northport, to head the state's top court. The state Senate voted down the nomination last week. So it turns out the state Senate is even more radical than Kathy Hochul is. In an interview, Hochul sought to calm worries about her plan to encourage and in some instances require municipalities to increase their residential stock would lead to the state overriding local zoning laws and planning boards. That's exactly what her plan does. See, Kathy Hochul is she's having her cake and eating it too. What she's saying is that we want local towns to build more multifamily housing units. So we're going to leave it up to the towns. And if the towns don't build any, then we'll move in and do it. Are you kidding me? That's not leaving it up to the towns. That's you saying we're going to let you decide, and if you don't decide what we want you to do, we're going to come in and do it anyway. I'm talking about the Kings Park Psych Center. I'm talking about Pilgrim State. I'm talking about the Sunrise Mall. Hell, probably the mall. What the hell is that mall on 106, 107? The one nobody goes to with the IKEA. I'm sure they'll put multifamily housing units there. Why not? There's plenty of room. No community is safe from the multifamily housing unit. Well, I take that back. No middle class or poor neighborhood is safe. The rich neighborhoods, they're probably safe. Something tells me multifamily housing units aren't going to go up in Sag Harbor. Something tells me they're not going to go up in Old Westbury or Upper Brookville. I don't think we'll be putting low-income housing in Bridgehampton. Why? Because those are all Kathy Hochul's donors. Those are her friends. We can't create more traffic. That'll upset Joy Behar. She defends her pro-Long Island initiatives. Quote, "This is a pro-Long Island initiative to make sure that we offer a whole panoply of housing." Really? The lack of affordable housing on Long Island is driving away young people and preventing others from moving here for new jobs because it's too expensive, Hochul said. "We only had a small growth compared to other regions that people are leaving. Zoning boards and other entities could allow housing growth. Quote, we have been ground to a halt, and we are not building housing for our families, our workers, and our senior citizens." First off, she's not allowing them to build for young people. Even the massive housing structures that are going up, like the Well in Lindenhurst or these Avalon apartments, these are like $3,000 a month. Who the hell can afford that on a single person salary? Nobody can afford that. And why would you? If you're paying $3,000 a month, live at home for a year, save your money, put a down payment on a house. But we can't do that. We can't do that either because national interest rates are so high, because Joe Biden continues to print money to send it to Ukraine. This is what happens. The government creates a problem. The government steps in to fix the problem. The government makes the problem worse. They do this in all entities, all over the sector. And it's important to understand, too, if you don't think Kathy Hochul is going to put these if you don't think she's going to punish the towns that didn't vote for her, she's one of the most malicious, vindictive leaders I have ever seen. If you need any more proof of that, just look at these MTA taxes and these housing policies. They're going in Republican areas. They're not going to go in Democrat neighborhoods. They're not going to go in the places that voted for her. She's not going to put them in Syracuse or Buffalo. She's not going to put them in Rochester or Queens or Brooklyn. She's going to put them in Republican neighborhoods. Why? Because Republican neighborhoods have the most space, which we pay for in property taxes, which we continue to pay for, which we'll never stop paying for because of the useless people we sent to Congress. See, we used to get nice salt tax deductions, so maybe property taxes weren't the biggest thing in the world. Sure, we got half-decent schools, and sure, we got a nice lawn, but, we got to write that stuff off. We don't get that anymore. Every politician campaigns on repealing the salt tax so that people can go on vacation with their families. But idiot Democrats think that repealing the salt tax is something that'll give a tax break to the 1%. As Bernie Sanders likes to say, without knowing that if you live on Long Island, paying $10,000 a year in property taxes is not an uncommon occurrence. My dad's a cop, or was a cop. My stepmother was a cop. They pay more than $10,000 a year in property taxes. Are they a part of the 1%, like Bernie Sanders likes to say? Of course not. They're regular people. How many people watching this right now? You don't got to tell me how much. But how many people watching this right now pay more than $10,000 a year in property taxes? That used to be able to be written off. Now we can't do that anymore. Because Republicans like Paul Ryan came in and cut taxes, but they cut the wrong taxes. And Republicans from blue states don't have the balls to do what needs to be done. They never did. They campaigned on doing it, and it'll never happen. They had their one opportunity during the speaker vote, and they blew it. GOP lawmaker calls the housing plan irresponsible. State Senator Jack Martins, awesome guy, Republican from Mineola, big fan of Jack, rejected Hochul's plan as irresponsible and said if fully implemented could triple the amount of housing in Nassau County, which he contended is already congested enough. I think she's clearly out of touch, Martins told Newsday. Of course she's out of touch. Hochul also defended her plan to increase the top tax rate on payroll taxes is paid by some employers in a 12-county region that's serviced by the Metropolitan Transit Authority. She argued that the increase is relatively small, raising the tax from 35 cents to 50 cents. That just shows you, not only is she out of touch, but she doesn't understand how business works. Payroll taxes are the reasons why businesses don't hire any more employees. And now she's going to raise the tax on people on Long Island to pay for the shortfall in the MTA. If you watched my LFA show yesterday, we talked about how Democrats do this. Joe Biden gave $36 billion to the Teamsters Union to supplement their failed pension policies. Now Kathy Hochul is doing the exact same thing. She's taking taxpayer funds from people who aren't using the MTA and giving it to the MTA to pay the pensions back from the unions that screwed up their planning in the first place. If I don't ride the MTA, why should I pay the MTA? Imagine they did that in any other entity. You don't eat McDonald's, but Kathy Hochul is going to give your taxpayer dollars to Ronald McDonald so that he can build more McDonald's. What the hell? I don't do that. What happens? You don't drink, or you don't go to bars in certain neighborhoods, but the government is going to subsidize the bar ownership in a particular neighborhood. You'd never stand for that. So then why do we stand for it when she does it with the MTA? Quote, the MTA is literally on the cusp of looking down a fiscal cliff, she said. This is not a tax directly on Long Islanders. This is saying, Long Islanders, we don't want you to have fare increases or reduction of services. Well, how about this? If you ride the MTA, you pay the fare. If you raise the fare and people don't want to pay that, then it's time for the MTA to start figuring out another way to make their business work, instead of just subsidizing things that don't work. Maybe they need to raise the fares on the MTA, but they can't do that, because if they raise the fares on the MTA, Democrats in the city council would get hurt. People would be mad. and Democrats would lose their power. So instead what she's doing is she's taxing Republicans to pay an entity that donates to her campaign. It's exactly what she's doing. She's taxing Long Island Republicans to pay the MTA who will eventually endorse her for re-election. The scheme's obvious. The scheme is totally obvious. However, we don't see that. Democrats don't want to see that. Martin said the increased taxes simply don't make any sense and that the MTA should undergo an audit. Yeah, of course they should. I wonder how much the union presidents at the MTA, I wonder how much the top brass at the MTA are making. Maybe don't pay yourself out a bonus if you don't want to raise in fare. Maybe more people would ride the subways if you didn't let homeless people take craps in plastic bags on the subway. I was on the subway last week, saw a guy, clear as day, right out in the open, just shooting heroin on the subway. Nothing gets done about that. Well, actually, no, I take that back. Something does get done about that. What happens is they then take that guy and put him up in a hotel in Copiague. And no one does anything about it. I've said it multiple times on this show, and I'll keep saying it. We used to have places where we housed homeless people. Panhandlers, sex offenders. We used to have a place where we housed them. We called them jails. And then Democrats took over. They didn't stand up to their radical left. And now we can't do that anymore. Even the moderate Democrats who are out there watching this, the Democrats who could be Republicans, just haven't switched their party registration yet. If you don't stand up to the radicals in your party, you will be labeled as such. Nothing we can do about that. And if you're one of the idiots out there that watch that hate watch this show, hi Sarah, hi Barbara, hi Patty, and you're a little angry with anything I've said today about housing the sex offenders near daycare centers in Copiague, that you're upset that I said we should lock up homeless people. My question to you is, how many of them are you taking in your neighborhood? How many are you taking? Because I got news for you. These homeless people, they're not where you live. They're where we live. They're where the poor people live. They're not north of Jericho Turnpike. They're south of Sunrise Highway. They don't have these problems north of the LIE. We do down on the south. So if anyone thinks I'm being a little too harsh about the homeless population, I'm sure you have a spare bedroom that you could easily take one of these people in, but you won't. You won't. You'll just virtue signal to the rest of us about how good you are because you don't want these people to be treated badly and you want to be kind to them. You want to be kind to them. Why don't you take a drug-addicted, mentally ill, homeless sex offender into your home instead of advocating for putting them next to mine? You won't do that, though, because you're one of the good people. I wonder if this will make it onto your ridiculous Facebook pages. Guys, we're pulling up on 9 o'clock. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Once again, that board meeting is going to be going on at Babylon Town Hall at 3 p.m. If you're going to go there, guys, I was hot this morning. I'm still a little pissed off about this. If you're going to go there, please be respectful. Please be respectful. Listen to them. Hear what they have to say. Hear them out. Hear what they have to say. Don't get raucous. I'll be there. I'll see you all there. 3 o'clock, Babylon Town Hall. I believe it's at Babylon Town Hall. If I'm wrong, someone please message me and let me know where the town board meeting is going to be held. I believe it's on the right side of Babylon Town Hall by the lake, by the pond. Be respectful. Don't be like Democrats. Keep your composure. And we'll stop this from happening. We'll stop this from happening. Guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. It's 9 o'clock. As always, head on over to loudmajorityus.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out the shop. Use promo code LFA at checkout for 20% off everything on the website. That's promo code LFA for 20% off on the website. Guys, next week I'll be broadcasting live from CPAC all week. If you haven't gotten your CPAC tickets yet, there's still some available on the website. It's going to be down in Bethesda, Maryland from the 1st to the 5th. Come on down, see me, see Sean, see the rest of our hosts over at LFA, Jeremy Harrell, Anna Perez, Isabella Riley, Isabella Moody. I'm going to keep calling her Isabella Riley. But I got some huge guests coming up next week, guys. At CPAC, you're going to be super excited about that, to hear from some of your favorite culture warriors, your favorite elected officials. So I'm really excited about that. So stay tuned next week. Guys, have a good weekend. For those of you who will be at the Babylon Town Board meeting today, 3 p.m., I'll see you there. Remember, woosah. Keep your composure. We will stop this, and we will stop it together. We all have to live here. Don't let bougie Democrats from Smithtown kowtow you into speaking. They don't live the same lives we live on the South Shore. Life below Sunrise Highway is a hell of a lot different than life north of Jericho Turnpike. And if you don't know that, it's probably because you're not from Long Island, like Kathy Hochul. Guys, I'll see you at 1 p.m. Until then, everybody, stay loud.